She did not plan her escape. She just grabbed her passport with shaking hands, bought the first ticket out, and swore Daniel would never touch her again. But when she woke up on the plane, there was a man sleeping on her shoulder, and people like him never appeared by accident. Olivia Carter didn't have a plan. She had fear, the kind of fear that makes your hands shake when you put your passport on the counter. The kind that makes you buy the first ticket the airline offers, no matter the price, no matter the destination. The kind that whispers, if you stay, he will find you. If he finds you, he will hurt you again. So she ran. The airport in New York was crowded and loud, but to her it was just a blur of faces she didn't trust. Her heart was still beating too fast from the way she'd left her apartment, without packing, without telling anyone, without looking back at the life Daniel had turned into a cage. She had almost not made it. On the way out, she kept imagining Daniel's black SUV turning the corner, him stepping out, grabbing her wrist the way he always did. But he didn't. She got in the cab. She got to the airport. She paid in cash. She didn't use her real number. She didn't log into anything. She was free, at least for the next few hours. "Ma'am, your boarding gate is B12, the airline worker said. Olivia nodded, swallowing hard. She clutched her ticket so tight the paper bent. She didn't even look at the city listed on it. She didn't care. Anywhere was better than the life she'd just escaped. Her boots clicked fast on the floor as she headed to the gate. She kept her head down, hair framing her face, like that could make her disappear. Every tall man in a dark coat made her flinch. Every phone ringing made her think it was Daniel. He said he could find me anywhere. She pushed the thought away. The gate agent called her row. Olivia stepped forward. Once she was inside the plane, a little of the tension left her shoulders. The cabin smelled like coffee and recycled air. People were talking, laughing, putting bags away. Normal people. People who were not being hunted by an ex-boyfriend with too much money and too much pride. Her seat was by the window. She sat down, set her small bag under the seat, and exhaled slowly. You did it. You actually did it. She buckled her seatbelt. Her hands were still shaking. A few minutes later, someone stopped by her row. She looked up. The man standing there didn't look like the others boarding. He wasn't in vacation clothes. He wasn't stressed with kids. He wasn't a college student. He wore a dark suit, shirt open at the collar, a watch that looked expensive but not flashy. His hair was dark, a bit tousled, like he'd run his hand through it on the way in. His eyes were deep brown and too observant. "Excuse me," he said, voice low, with a slight Italian sound. "This is 14B. Olivia moved her legs so he could pass. He sat beside her, his movements controlled, like he was used to being watched. She tried not to stare. Men like him didn't sit next to women like her. Men like him sat in private jets, or owned the airline. The plane finished boarding. The safety video played. Olivia tried to listen, but her body was finally crashing from the adrenaline. She hadn't slept the night before. She hadn't eaten. She'd just run. As the plane started to move, her eyes burned. The gravity of what she'd done hit her. She had walked out on Daniel Hayes, the man who'd told her 100 times, "You belong to me." She didn't know what he would do when he realized she was gone. The plane lifted, engines roaring. The city got smaller. For a second, it felt like freedom. She leaned her head back and closed her eyes. She didn't mean to fall asleep. But the exhaustion was stronger than the fear, and little by little her body relaxed. Her head tilted to the side, and without noticing, she rested it on the shoulder of the stranger in the suit. He felt it. He turned his head slightly and looked at her, at the dark circles under her eyes, at the tight way she held her hands even in sleep, at the faint yellow mark on her wrist that did not look like she bumped into a door. His jaw tightened for a moment. Then he let her sleep. The flight wasn't long, but for Olivia it felt like 8 hours of pure blackout. For the first time in months, no one was yelling. No one was tracking her. No one was telling her what to wear or who to talk to. Just silence. When the captain announced the descent, the man beside her looked down at her again. "Miss," he said low. She startled awake. Her eyes fluttered open, confused. Then she realized where her head was. "Oh my God, I'm sorry," she said, sitting straight, cheeks flushing. "It's all right. he said easily. You needed it. His accent was more noticeable now that he'd said more than 2 words. Italian, definitely. I didn't mean to fall on you. You weren't heavy, he said, and a corner of his mouth lifted, but it wasn't a flirt. It was human. Olivia nodded awkwardly and looked out the window. The city lights were below them, cold, silver, busy. New chances, new risks. When the plane landed and they taxied to the gate, Olivia's heart started pounding again. The plane was safe. The airport was not. Once she stepped out, she was back in the open. She grabbed her bag fast and waited, fingers twitching. The Italian man stood too. Up close, he smelled clean, like cedar and something dark. Not sweat, not cheap perfume. Money. They got off the plane. She thought that was the last she'd see of him. But fate wasn't done. Inside the terminal, she tried to move fast, blending into the crowd. She didn't go to baggage claim. She hadn't checked anything. She headed straight for the exit, wanting to get to a hotel, change her SIM, figure out her next move. That was when her backup phone, the one she'd forgotten in the side pocket of her bag, lit up. She froze. The number had no name, but she knew. Daniel always called from numbers that couldn't be traced back. Her throat closed. She didn't answer. She turned the phone off. But if the phone rang, it meant he had this number. If he had this number, he could triangulate. She felt eyes on her. Across the street, 2 men were standing under a lamppost. They weren't looking at flight signs. They weren't looking for a cab. They were looking at her. Her stomach dropped. No, he can't be this fast. She spun around, about to go back inside, when a black car rolled to the curb like it had been waiting for someone important. The back door opened. The man from the plane stepped out. He didn't look surprised to see her again. He looked like he expected it. His eyes flicked to the 2 men watching. His body relaxed, but in the way dangerous men relax, ready to move. You shouldn't stand out here alone, he said. I'm fine, Olivia said, but even she didn't sound convinced. He didn't argue. He just tilted his head toward the 2 men. They don't look like airport staff. Olivia followed his gaze. One of the men was already crossing the street. Her breath hitched. Oh, God. The Italian man, Luca, stepped forward, placing himself between her and the approaching man. He didn't raise his voice. Turn around, he said to the man. The stranger frowned. I'm looking for someone. You're done looking, Luca said. For a second, the man looked like he wanted to push it. Then he saw something in Luca's eyes, that cold, unmoving authority. And he stopped. He muttered something to his partner and backed away, disappearing into the crowd again. Olivia stared at Luca like he'd just pulled her out of a moving car. Who are you? She asked, breathless. He looked at her like he was measuring how much to tell. Luca Moretti. The name meant nothing to her. But the way the driver kept the door open, the way people passing by glanced at him and then looked away quickly, the way those men had obeyed, that meant everything. I can call a cab, she said, still shaking. You can, he said, and they will follow it. Or you can get in the car and disappear. Disappear. The word wrapped around her like a blanket. She hesitated only a second, then got in. Inside, it was quiet. The driver pulled away from the curb smoothly. The city lights started to run past the windows. Olivia sat straight, clutching her bag. Thank you, she said softly. You didn't have to do that. I know, Luca said. Why did you? He looked at her, at the way she was trying to act calm even though her hands betrayed her. Because I don't like cowards who hunt women. Silence filled the car. Olivia bit her lip. He'll keep looking for me, she said, almost to herself. Who is he? Luca asked. She swallowed. Saying his name out loud felt like giving him power again. My ex. Luca's eyebrow lifted. Ex? He doesn't accept that part, she said bitterly. Luca nodded once, as if he'd seen this before. Men like that don't stop. I know. The car stopped in front of a high-rise with mirrored glass. Not a public hotel, something more private. The kind of building that either belonged to a company or to a man. A second man was waiting at the entrance. Tall, short dark hair, alert. He opened the door for Luca. "Boss," he said. Then his eyes flicked to Olivia, curious. "Marco," Luca said. "She's with me." Marco's curiosity vanished, replaced by professional focus. "Understood. Boss." So she hadn't imagined it. He was important. Important enough that other dangerous men backed off. Inside, the elevator ride was silent. Olivia kept thinking she should leave, that she shouldn't bring more trouble to a stranger, that Daniel would come after anyone who helped her. But she also remembered Daniel's hand around her throat, his words in her ear. "You think anyone will stand between us? I'll destroy him." She couldn't face that alone. The elevator opened to a floor that looked like a luxury apartment, not a hotel. Dark wood, glass, city view. "You can stay here tonight," Luca said. "You look like you need rest. We'll talk in the morning." "We?" she repeated. "If he's already tracking you," Luca said, "then you're already a problem for me. And if you're a problem for me, I need to know who I'm dealing with." He said it without threat, just fact. Olivia nodded slowly. "My name is Olivia." "Olivia," he repeated, testing it. "All right." He handed her a key card. "Room on the right. There are clothes inside. Eat, shower, sleep." She blinked. "You just have spare clothes for random women?" He almost smiled. "I have spare clothes for unexpected situations." That didn't really answer, but she was too tired to push. She went into the room. It was warm, clean, with a huge bed, a bathroom bigger than her old kitchen. She locked the door, even though she knew it probably didn't matter in a place like this. She dropped her bag on the chair and finally let her shoulders sag. She had made it. She had gotten away. Her phone, the one she should have thrown away, buzzed on the nightstand. Her blood ran cold. She picked it up with shaking fingers. Unknown number. She answered. "Olivia." Daniel's voice came smooth and poisonous. "You almost made me work for it." Her heart stopped. "How did you really thought you could walk out and I wouldn't know?" he said. "You used the card to buy the ticket. You turned on the backup phone. You're not as smart as you think." Tears burned her eyes. "Leave me alone, Daniel. That's not how we work," he said. His voice dropped. "And whoever is helping you will regret it." The line went dead. Olivia stood there, shaking. He was close. He knew she was in the city. He would come. A knock sounded on the door. "Olivia," Luca's voice said from the hallway. "You're not all right." She opened the door a little. He was standing there, sleeves rolled up now, eyes sharp. "He called you?" Luca asked. She nodded. "What did he say?" "That he's close." Her voice broke. "And that whoever is helping me will regret it." Luca's eyes darkened. Not with fear, with anger. "What's his name?" he asked. Daniel Hayes." Luca looked like he was memorizing it. Then he said, in that calm, lethal tone that made men at the airport back off, "Then Daniel Hayes just picked the wrong woman to chase." The night outside kept moving, but inside that hallway something shifted. She wasn't running alone anymore. And Daniel had no idea who had just stepped between them. The city never really slept, but from Luca Moretti's penthouse, it looked like it might. The noise was distant, the light muted. Down below, the streets glowed with passing cars and thin ribbons of fog. Inside, everything was quiet except for the sound of Olivia Carter's footsteps pacing the living room floor. She hadn't changed since last night. Her hair was still pulled back, her coat still on, eyes wide and red from exhaustion. She'd been waiting for morning to come, but it felt like time had stopped after that call from Daniel. Luca entered the room without making a sound. He'd been on the balcony, talking on the phone in a tone she couldn't quite understand. Half Italian, half English, calm but deadly. When he hung up, he turned toward her. "You didn't sleep," he said. How could I? She asked. He knows I'm here. Luca leaned against the wall, crossing his arms. He doesn't know where you are. My people wiped your trail after the airport. Your people? He nodded once. Security, men who owe me favors. Olivia swallowed. Who are you, really? His eyes flicked to her, steady, dark, unreadable. A man who deals with problems, he said. And right now, you're one of them. Her heart stung at that, but there was no malice in his tone, just truth. I didn't ask for your help, she said softly. I didn't offer, he replied. I stopped 2 men from taking you. That made me part of it. If Daniel Hayes is as dangerous as you say, he won't stop until he finds you again. And now he'll look for the man who was with you. Her stomach twisted. So you're saying I put you in danger? He tilted his head slightly. You didn't put me anywhere. I make my own choices. Silence stretched between them, filled with the faint hum of the city. Luca turned toward the bar counter, poured black coffee into 2 mugs, and handed one to her. She hesitated before taking it. Drink, he said. You'll need it. She sipped. It burned her tongue, but the heat steadied her. Tell me about him, Luca said, still looking out at the skyline. Daniel. Olivia lowered her gaze. Her fingers gripped the mug too tight. He wasn't always like that. He was charming when we met. Funny, smart. Then little by little he started controlling everything. What I wore, who I talked to, where I worked. The first time he hit me, he apologized for a week. The second time, he said it was my fault. Luca didn't move. He just listened. I tried to leave before, she went on, voice trembling. He always found me. Said he had friends in the police. That he'd ruin my life if I told anyone. So I ran. This time I thought I was smarter. He finally turned back to her. And now? Now I don't know what to do. He set his cup down. You stay hidden, you stay quiet, and you don't use that phone again. I already turned it off. Not enough, he said. We'll burn it. Before she could answer, Luca took the phone from the table, opened the balcony door, and tossed it off the 33rd floor like it was trash. Olivia gasped. You didn't have to. It was a leash, he said. Now it's gone. She stared at him, half shocked, half relieved. Luca studied her face again, slower this time. When was the last time you ate? She hesitated. Yesterday morning. He sighed, walked toward the kitchen, and started heating something in a pan. The smell of eggs and toast filled the air. The small, ordinary act felt so strange after weeks of running that Olivia almost cried. You don't have to feed me, she whispered. He didn't answer. After a moment, he placed a plate in front of her. Eat. She sat down and obeyed. Her hands were still shaking, but the warmth of the food grounded her. He stood nearby, arms folded, watching her, not with suspicion but with something else. Concern, maybe. Finally, she looked up. Why are you doing this? Luca took a slow breath. Because I hate men who hurt women. And because you looked like someone who hadn't been helped in a long time. The words were simple, but they hit her harder than anything Daniel had ever said. After breakfast, Luca called for Marco. His right-hand man entered quietly, carrying a tablet. Boss, we checked the airport footage. 2 men were definitely tailing her. Both connected to someone named Daniel Hayes. Hayes runs a private company, but his money's dirty. Fraud, trafficking, offshore deals. Olivia felt sick. I didn't know about any of that. Luca's tone softened. I believe you. Then to Marco. Double security downstairs, and find out if anyone's selling information about her arrival. Marco nodded and left. When they were alone again, Olivia whispered, If you get involved, he'll come for you too. Luca smirked faintly. Then he'll regret it. She wanted to argue, but something in his voice silenced her. It wasn't arrogance, it was certainty. That afternoon, he took her to a different building. Smaller, quieter. The windows were bulletproof, though he didn't say that. A single guard at the entrance nodded when they arrived. This is safer, Luca said. No one knows you're here except me and Marco. She followed him inside. The apartment had a view of the river, a modern kitchen and soft gray walls. "You'll stay here for now." "I can't just hide forever," she said. "You can, until he's handled." "Handled?" He looked at her, expression unreadable. "Don't ask questions you don't want answered." The truth was, she didn't. She already guessed enough about what kind of man he was, the respect, the fear, the loyalty that followed him everywhere. He wasn't a police officer or a bodyguard. He was something else entirely. Still, she felt safer than she'd felt in years. When evening came, Luca disappeared into another room to take calls. Olivia wandered near the window, staring at the lights. For the first time, she let herself breathe. Then she saw something that froze her blood. Across the street, a dark figure near a lamppost, holding a phone pointed toward the building. Her voice shook. "Luca!" He was already behind her before she could finish. "Where?" She pointed. But the man was gone. Luca cursed under his breath and called Marco immediately. "We've got eyes on us. Find out who the hell's leaking my addresses." He hung up, jaw tight. "Pack your things." I just unpacked. "Then pack faster." Within minutes, they were in the car again, this time heading out of Manhattan into quieter streets. "Where are we going?" Olivia asked. "Somewhere he can't reach you," Luca said. The ride was long. She watched the city fade into suburbs, then open roads. By the time they stopped, it was past midnight. The property ahead was surrounded by trees, lights glowing along a long driveway. "This is one of my safe houses," he said. "You'll stay here until we fix this." Olivia hesitated before stepping out. "You talk like you've done this before." "I have," he said simply. Inside, the house was minimalist but warm. Fireplace, thick curtains, leather chairs. Luca showed her the guest room, then walked to the door. "Lock it from inside," he said. "If anyone tries to come in, don't open for anyone but me or Marco." She nodded. "Do you think he'll come here?" Luca's eyes softened for the first time. "If he does, he won't leave." That should have scared her, but it didn't. For the first time, the fear she felt wasn't for herself. It was for what Luca might do on her behalf. When he left the room, she sat on the bed, staring at the window. A small sense of peace started to settle, mixed with confusion. She didn't know why he cared, or why his calm voice had such an effect on her. Hours passed before she finally fell asleep. Luca stayed awake in the study downstairs, looking through files Marco had sent him. Photos of Daniel Hayes, business records, news clippings. Marco's voice came through the speakerphone. "Boss, this guy isn't just a jealous boyfriend. He's tied to a small criminal outfit in Jersey. He's got money and men." Luca's eyes narrowed. "So he's not just abusive. He's connected." "Exactly. And he's desperate. He put out word that he wants the girl found fast. Big payout." Luca leaned back in his chair. "Then tell the streets the contract's canceled. Anyone who touches her answers to me." Marco was silent for a second. "You sure you want to claim her protection officially? That sends a message." "I want it sent," Luca said coldly. "Tonight." He ended the call. From upstairs, a faint noise caught his attention. A nightmare, maybe. A muffled sound. He hesitated, then went to check. Olivia was tangled in the sheets, whispering in her sleep. "Please, stop." Luca stood at the door, jaw tight. He didn't wake her, but he stayed until she calmed. Something about seeing her like that hit a part of him he thought was long gone. When he finally returned to the study, he poured himself a drink and stared out at the dark woods. "Daniel Hayes," he muttered. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." Morning came quiet. Olivia found a note on the kitchen counter. "Eat. Don't open the door. I'll be back. L." The smell of coffee lingered. There was food waiting, still warm. For a few minutes she stood there, unsure whether to trust it. Then she laughed softly at herself. She was hiding in a Mafia safe house, being told to eat breakfast like a normal person. But she ate. Later that day, Luca returned. He walked in with his sleeves rolled up, a bit of blood on his knuckles, like it was nothing. She froze. "What happened?" He looked at her briefly. Nothing you need to worry about. Luca. He rinsed his hands at the sink, water running red for a second before turning clear. One of the men who followed you yesterday had a loose tongue. He won't anymore. Olivia swallowed. You killed him? He turned, eyes calm. No. I made him talk. She didn't know what to say. Part of her wanted to run. Part of her felt safer than ever. Luca sat at the table, voice steady. He confirmed what Marco found. Daniel has people searching. He offered money to anyone who reports seeing you. That means you don't leave this house. And if I do, then you die, he said flatly. The honesty of it sent chills down her spine. Luca softened his tone. I'll keep you alive. That's the deal. What deal? The one I'm offering, he said. Stay under my protection until this ends. You follow my rules and no one touches you again. She stared at him. Why are you really helping me? He looked straight into her eyes. Because I can, and because men like him deserve to be afraid for once. Something in his voice made her believe him. Outside, the sky darkened again, thunder rumbling in the distance. Olivia looked out the window, then back at him. And what happens after? He didn't answer. His phone buzzed on the table. Marco's name lit up the screen. Luca picked it up. Talk. Marco's voice came through, urgent. Boss, we've got a problem. Someone tried to enter the building from the back gate. He asked for her by name. Luca's eyes narrowed. Is he still breathing? For now. Keep it that way. I'm coming. He ended the call, grabbed his jacket, and looked at Olivia. Stay here. Do not move. Luca, what's happening? Daniel's close, he said. Closer than I thought. Then he was gone, the door slamming behind him. Olivia stood frozen in the empty room, her heart pounding. She walked to the window and saw headlights moving fast down the road. She didn't know if Luca was chasing the danger, or if the danger was already on its way to them. The night outside Luca Moretti's safe house was darker than usual. The moon hid behind clouds, and the trees around the property swayed under a restless wind. Inside, everything was still, too still. Olivia sat on the couch, staring at the door. Luca had been gone for almost 2 hours. She kept checking the window, expecting to see headlights again. Every sound made her flinch, the refrigerator humming, the fireplace cracking, her own heartbeat. When the handle finally turned, she jumped. Luca stepped inside, the hem of his coat wet from rain. He looked calm, but his jaw was tight. Behind him, Marco followed, scanning the room like a soldier after a mission. It's handled, Luca said simply, shaking the water from his hands. Olivia stood. Handled how? No one will come near this house again. She tried to read his face. What did you do? Luca met her eyes. I made sure Daniel's men know what happens when they cross my line. She swallowed. You mean you? I sent a message. He cut in, voice steady. That's all you need to know. Olivia didn't answer. She wanted to be grateful, but the words message and mafia lived in the same world, one she didn't belong to. Marco gave Luca a brief nod before leaving through the back hallway. When they were alone, Olivia spoke quietly. How long can I stay here? As long as necessary, he said. I can't hide forever. No, Luca agreed, but right now hiding is surviving. He took off his coat and set it over a chair. His shirt sleeves were rolled up, veins visible under tanned skin. There was blood on his wrist. Not much, just a streak, but enough to make her heart skip. You're bleeding. It's not mine, he said, walking to the sink to rinse it off. Olivia looked down, her voice shaking. You shouldn't have to do this for me. I don't do anything I don't want to, he replied, drying his hands. You didn't force me into this. Daniel did. When he said Daniel's name, it came out like a warning, not a word but a promise. Luca turned back to her. You're safe here, but you need to follow my rules. What rules? He started counting them on his fingers. 1, you don't leave the property. 2, you don't use a phone, computer, or anything that connects you to the world. 3, If anyone knocks on that door, even if they say it's me, you don't open it. And 4? He paused. You trust me. Her breath caught. That's not easy for me. I know, he said quietly. Do it anyway. The next morning, sunlight filtered weakly through the curtains. Olivia woke to the smell of coffee and something warm. Luca was already up, sitting at the kitchen island, reading a document. Good morning, he said without looking up. Morning, she said, her voice still raspy from sleep. What time is it? 7. He slid a plate toward her. Toast, eggs, orange juice. I'm not used to being taken care of, she said, sitting down. You're not being taken care of, he replied. You're being protected. She frowned slightly. There's a difference? Yes, he said. Protection ends when the danger ends. Care doesn't. The silence that followed felt heavier than the words themselves. As the hours passed, Olivia explored the house. It was bigger than she expected. A library, a gym, a small garden behind bulletproof glass. Everything smelled faintly of leather and cedar, like Luca himself. She paused by his office door. It was half open. Inside, Luca was on the phone, speaking in Italian. His voice was low, sharp, efficient. He hung up, sensing her presence. You shouldn't be near this room, he said, not unkindly. I wasn't listening, she said quickly. I was just walking. I know, he replied. But people who walk into my office sometimes see things they shouldn't. Olivia looked at him. Are you always this secretive? Yes, she smiled faintly. At least you're honest about it. He looked up from his papers, the corner of his mouth twitching. You make jokes when you're scared. Sometimes, she said. It helps. You'll fit in just fine then. For the first time since she'd met him, she saw something close to warmth in his expression. That evening, Luca took her outside. The rain had stopped, and the air smelled of wet earth. They walked along the gravel path behind the house, the lights from inside casting long shadows. You ever lived near silence? He asked. No, she said. Daniel hated quiet. He always had music on, loud. He liked control, Luca said. He lived for it. Luca glanced at her. Men like him mistake fear for respect. I don't. You don't seem afraid of anyone, she said softly. He gave a small, humorless smile. I am. Just not in the way you think. What do you mean? I'm not afraid of dying, he said. I'm afraid of losing what little good I have left. Something in his tone made her chest tighten. She wanted to ask what good he meant, but she didn't. They reached the end of the path where the trees grew dense. The wind brushed her hair, and for a second it felt almost peaceful. Then Luca's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, frowned, and answered. Talk to me. Marco's voice came through. Olivia could hear it faintly. Boss, we found something. One of our men leaked the location. He was paid by someone from Daniel's side, and by someone else. Someone else? Luca repeated. The Giannetti family, Marco said. Luca's hand tightened on the phone. They're trying to use this. They want leverage. Exactly. They said if you hand over the girl, they'll back off your territory. Olivia's heart froze. She looked at him, whispering, What does that mean? Luca ended the call, slipping the phone into his pocket. It means you've become currency. Currency? He turned toward her, his face unreadable again. A tool to make me surrender something. And you're considering it? She asked, her voice shaking. His expression hardened. No, but they think I might. That's dangerous. She took a step closer. You don't even know me, Luca. You shouldn't risk everything for me. He looked down at her, eyes dark and steady. You think this is about knowing you? Isn't it? It's about principle, he said. I don't hand people over. Not to anyone. Her throat tightened. Even if it starts a war? He smiled faintly, a dangerous kind of calm. Then we fight smart. Later that night, Olivia couldn't sleep. She wandered into the living room and found Luca sitting by the fireplace, drinking whiskey. The flames lit his face in gold and shadow. You should rest, he said without turning around. I can't. she admitted. Every time I close my eyes, I hear his voice. He gestured to the chair beside him. Sit. She did. They sat in silence for a while, watching the fire. Did you ever think, she said quietly, that maybe people like Daniel never stop because they think they own the world? They stop when someone stronger teaches them fear, Luca said. She looked at him. You really think fear can fix everything? No, he said, but it can keep monsters in their cages. Her eyes softened. And what about you, Luca? Are you one of them? He didn't look away. Sometimes. The honesty startled her. She leaned back, whispering, I don't believe that. You should, he said. The difference between Daniel and me is that I know what I am. For a long moment, neither spoke. The crackling of the fire was the only sound between them. Finally, Luca stood. You should sleep. Will you? She asked. He looked toward the window, the reflection of the fire in his eyes. Not tonight. The next morning, Marco arrived early, tension written all over his face. Boss, we traced the payment from Gianetti's men. They weren't after you. They were after her. Luca's expression turned to ice. What? They wanted to sell her to Daniel directly. Daniel offered double for a live handoff. Olivia paled. They were going to trade me? Luca nodded once. They won't now. What do you mean? She asked quietly. I mean, I sent a message they won't forget, he said. And I shut down the leak. Olivia didn't ask how. She didn't want to know. Luca looked at her seriously. This won't end until Daniel stops breathing or stops hunting. And I know which one is more likely. She met his gaze, her voice small but steady. I don't want anyone to die because of me. You don't get to decide that, he said gently. You didn't start this. Tears welled in her eyes. Then when does it end? When I say it does. That night, after Marco left, Olivia stood by the window again. She could see Luca outside near the carport talking to his men. The cold air made his breath visible. He moved like a man who carried weight on his shoulders but refused to show it. She watched the way they looked at him, respect mixed with fear, and she realized something. Luca wasn't just dangerous. He was lonely. When he came back inside, she met him at the door. Thank you, she said softly. For what? For not letting him win. He stared at her for a long moment, then said, Go get some rest, Olivia. She hesitated, then leaned in and kissed his cheek. Just a whisper of contact, soft, uncertain. He didn't move, didn't speak. His eyes followed her as she walked away. When the door to her room closed, he exhaled slowly, his pulse louder than he wanted to admit. Luca Moretti had spent his life keeping emotions locked behind walls of power and control, but something about Olivia Carter was cracking them open piece by piece. He poured another drink and muttered under his breath, Protection always comes with a price. He just hadn't realized yet how high that price would be. Morning came gray over the safe house, but the tension inside had nothing to do with the weather. From the upstairs window, Olivia watched Luca outside, talking to Marco and two other men. They weren't joking, they weren't relaxed, they were planning, and she knew, deep down, that planning had everything to do with her. She went downstairs before he came back in. She didn't want to look like she was hiding. Luca entered a minute later, closing the door behind him, bringing in the smell of cold air and rain. His eyes went straight to her. You're awake, he said. I heard voices, she said. You were outside for a while. I had to rearrange security, he replied, taking off his coat. Gianetti's people got too close yesterday. I don't like that. So they really know I exist now, she said quietly. They know I'm protecting someone, he corrected. They don't know where, but that's enough to make them curious. She looked down. So I made you vulnerable. Luca stepped closer, voice calm but firm. No, I made me vulnerable when I decided to keep you. That's on me, not on you. She looked up at him then, really looked, and there was no accusation in his eyes, just a decision he'd already made. He poured coffee for both of them and leaned on the counter. I need you to answer something straight, Olivia. Did you ever sign anything for Daniel? Money transfers, accounts, business documents? Her stomach tightened. Yes. Once. He said he had a problem with the bank. I was scared, so I signed. Did you read it? No. Did you keep it? No. Luca's jaw clenched. That's why he's desperate. I didn't know Luca, she said fast. I swear I wasn't trying to steal anything. I just didn't want him to start yelling. He'd get in my face, slam the table, and then he'd say if I loved him I would sign. I believe you, Luca said immediately. This is exactly how men like him corner women. They make fear look like cooperation. She took a shaky breath. So now he wants me not because he loves me. He wants me because I can get him in trouble. Yes, Luca said, and that makes him dangerous, not just jealous. Before she could answer, Marco came in, tension written all over him. Boss, he said, glancing at Olivia for a second. We got another message. Luca straightened. From who? From Genetti's circle. They said they can help return the girl to the man she ran from. Olivia's face went pale. They talked to Daniel. Yeah, Marco said. Looks like Daniel offered money to whoever can grab her from us. Luca's eyes darkened. So Daniel thinks he can buy his way through my enemies. Marco handed him a phone. It came with this. Luca looked at the screen. Olivia came closer. It was a photo, airport security footage. Olivia walking out with her bag, eyes tired and scared. And just behind her, him. Under it, a simple line. She is your weakness now. Olivia felt her heart sink. Someone was watching us. They were watching me, Luca said. And now they think you're the way to get me to bend. Her voice came out small. I don't want to be your weakness. Luca looked at her like the answer was obvious. You're not. You're only a weakness if I pretend you don't matter. I'm not pretending. That hit her harder than any threat Daniel had ever made. Marco cleared his throat. Boss, the families think you might trade her. They think she's leverage. They're wrong, Luca said. We don't hand people over. Marco nodded. Then they'll test you. Let them, Luca said. When Marco left, Olivia turned to him. You could still give me back, you know. It would stop all this. Luca's face hardened. Don't say that again. Why not? It would fix it. No, he said. It would make me a man like him. And I am not. Her eyes filled. You don't even know me. I know enough, he said. I know you ran. I know you didn't sell him out. I know you're scared and still standing. That's enough for me to protect you. She stared at him for a long second, then nodded. Later, she asked for something simple. Can I call my friend, just to tell her I'm alive? Luca considered it. Then he nodded. Short. No locations. No names. He dialed on a secure line and slid the phone to her. Hannah? Olivia said. Olivia? Oh my God. Where are you? Are you safe? I'm safe. I can't tell you where. Is it Daniel? Did he find you? He tried, Olivia said. But someone helped me. Someone? Hannah's tone sharpened. Who? A man, Olivia said carefully. He's dangerous. But I'm safer with him than without. Hannah sighed. Just don't go back to your place. Daniel went there. He left a note. He said, I forgive you. Olivia scoffed. He never forgives. He just resets the control. I know, Hannah said, so stay gone. I will. They ended the call. Luca took the phone back, satisfied. Good. Now no more calls. By late afternoon, the tension hit its peak. Luca was in the living room when his private phone rang. Not the business one, not the secure one, the real one. He answered. Moretti. A smooth, arrogant voice came through. Mr. Moretti, we haven't met. But I believe you have something that belongs to me. Olivia froze. Daniel. Luca's voice dropped. Daniel Hayes. That's right, Daniel said. And you're the thug who thought he could pick up what I was disciplining. She's not yours. Luca said. She was, Daniel said. She wore my ring, lived in my house. I paid for everything. She didn't complain then. She didn't complain because she was scared, Luca said. There's a difference. Daniel laughed softly. Let me guess. She told you I hit her. She told you I forced her to sign. She didn't tell you she moved money. She moved what you made her move. You don't know what she did, Daniel said, voice getting colder. You don't know what she saw. I can't let her walk around with that in her head. You can't touch her, Luca said simply. And you think you can stop me? I know I can. Daniel paused, then spoke slower. You give her back. This ends. You keep her. I start talking to people you don't want me talking to. You already did, Luca said. You called Giannetti. You called anyone who would listen. You called the feds. So you do know, Daniel said. Good. Then you know this isn't just jealousy. It's business. You made it business. I made it personal, Luca said. Bad trade for you. Daniel's voice turned into a promise. Then I will come for both of you. The line went dead. Silence filled the room. Olivia was shaking. He's lying. I didn't steal from him. I signed because I was scared. Luca walked to her, took her face in his hands, made her look at him. I believe you. I already believed you before he called. Are you sure? She whispered. I know what lies sound like, he said. His voice was full of them. Tears burned her eyes. No one had ever believed her that fast. Marco reappeared. Boss, if he's willing to talk to Giannetti and law enforcement, we can't stay out here. I know, Luca said. We move. Back to the city? Marco asked. Yes. Marco gave him a look. That's closer to the fire. It's closer to me, Luca said. I want her where I can see her. Olivia's pulse jumped at that. They left at dusk. 2 SUVs, 1 decoy, 1 real. Olivia rode with Luca. Outside, the wet road shone under streetlights. She sat close, hands on her lap. Do you think he'll really come himself? Yes, Luca said. He wants to prove he still owns you. He doesn't, she said, more to herself than to him. I know, Luca said. That's why he's angry. She turned to him. And if he pushes too far? I push back harder. She let out a breath. You make everything sound simple. It is simple, he said. You're under my protection. Anyone who tries to take you dies or disappears. The end. She stared at him for a second. That doesn't scare you? What? Choosing me over business. He glanced at her. I've made worse choices for less. That made her smile, even in the middle of danger. Halfway into the drive, Marco's voice came through the radio. Boss, tail, black sedan, holding distance. Luca didn't even look back. Decoy stays straight. We turn. The car turned off the interstate onto an older road through warehouses. The tail followed the decoy. Lost him, Marco said. He's following the wrong car. Good, Luca said. Let him think we're stupid. They reached the city an hour later. The SUV slid into an underground garage guarded by men who didn't ask questions. From there, a private elevator took them straight up. When the doors opened, Olivia felt her breath leave her chest. The penthouse was all glass and night. New York stretched around them like a sea of light. Inside, everything was black, gray, and steel. Clean, elegant, masculine. You live like this? She whispered. I work like this, he said. Living is less organized. She stepped to the window, looking down in awe. I've never seen the city from this high. You've never seen it safe, he said. Now you do. She turned to him. Luca. Yes. If Daniel said you don't know what she did, and you don't care, why? He held her gaze. Because I've seen what real evil looks like. You're not it. You're a woman who was used. I don't punish that. Her eyes shone. You talk like you've done this before. I've protected people who didn't deserve what was happening to them, he said. Not many, but some. And what happens now? She asked, voice soft. Now, he said, turning to the window again, watching the city breathe below. His world, my world, and your past, are on a collision course. He looked back at her. And when that happens, I need you to trust that I already chose which side I'm on. The rain over Manhattan came down in long silver lines against the glass, blurring the city lights and making the penthouse feel like it was floating above the world. It was the kind of night when people stayed inside, when the city got softer. Inside Luca Moretti's place, nothing was soft. Every screen was on. Every camera feed was live. Marco was at the console, watching the lobby, the elevator, the garage. Two of Luca's men were in the service hallway, out of sight but ready. The entire floor was locked, and in the middle of it, Olivia stood by the window, arms crossed over her chest, trying to slow her breathing. She wasn't running anymore, but she was shaking. Luca saw it. He walked over, sleeves rolled up, tie off, the same calm on his face he wore when he gave orders. "Breathe," he said quietly. "I am," she said. "It's just, tonight feels different." "It is," he said. "Tonight we stop reacting. Tonight we end it." She looked at him. "By using me as bait." His mouth twitched. "You make it sound uglier than it is." "It is ugly," she said. "He wants me. You want him. I'm the string between." "You're not a string," Luca said. "You're the reason he'll walk through that door, and the reason he'll stay down." She held his gaze. "And if something goes wrong?" He didn't blink. "Then I get you out." "You can't promise that." "I just did." There was something in the way he said it, steady, final, that made her swallow the argument. He'd been consistent since the airport. "I protect, you let me." Tonight was no different, just louder. Marco approached, tablet in hand. "Boss, we confirmed the trail. Daniel used her name on 3 accounts, Cayman, Panama, and one here." Olivia turned. "Here?" Marco nodded. "New Jersey bank, fake business account, all under your SSN, all tied to his shell company." Her shoulders slumped. "So I could really go to jail for something I didn't do." "If he stays alive, yeah," Marco said. "If he doesn't, he won't," Luca cut in. Marco nodded. "Then it dies with him." Olivia looked between them. "That's it? That simple?" "Simple is the most effective," Luca said. "He built it. He can't testify if he's gone." She hesitated. "Luca, are you killing him for me, or because he's a problem?" He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Both. I don't like men who hurt women, and I don't like men who think they can touch what's under me." Her cheeks warmed at that. "Under you?" "Under my protection," he corrected, but his eyes didn't move from hers. For a second, the danger faded, and it was just the two of them, her with wet eyes and a brave face, him with a gun on his hip and a heart he didn't show to anyone else. Then the elevator alert chimed softly on the console. Marco straightened. "Movement downstairs." Olivia's pulse spiked. "Him?" "3 men," Marco said, watching the feed. "1 umbrella, expensive suit. That's him." Luca turned to her, voice suddenly all command. "Into the study. Curtains open. Sit where he can see you, but stay out of the line of fire." She nodded, legs a little unsteady, and did exactly that. The study had glass walls facing the living room, so from the entrance you could see her. Small, nervous, backlit by city lights. A perfect lure. Luca clicked his earpiece on. "Everyone hold until I say. We take him alive if he talks. We finish him if he doesn't." "Copy," came the answers. Down in the lobby, Daniel Hayes looked straight at the camera and smirked. He didn't look like a man scared to walk into a mafia boss's home. He looked like a man who believed the world still belonged to him. He walked into the elevator with 2 men. As it rose, Luca moved. Not to the center of the room, but to the side, behind a structural column where he had a clean angle. He could see the door. He could see Olivia. Daniel wouldn't see him right away. In the study, Olivia sat on the edge of the desk, fingers gripping the wood. Her heart thudded so loud she was sure the whole room could hear it. Luca's voice murmured in her ear, low, warm. "I see you. You're good. You're not alone." She closed her eyes for 1 second. "Okay." The elevator dinged. The doors slid open. Daniel stepped out like he was walking into a meeting. Hair slicked back. Suit tailored. Smile rehearsed. "Olivia," he called, like this was domestic. "There you are." She stiffened. "Stop right there." He laughed. "What? No hug?" "Stop," she said again, louder. He spotted her in the study and started walking, not even looking around. "You really ran to a criminal?" he said, shaking his head. "Baby, you overreacted. You always did." Her stomach turned. "Don't call me that. I fed you, clothed you." "You hit me," she snapped. "Because you lied," he said instantly. "You made me sign things I didn't understand. Because you never listened." The old cycle. The blame. The twisting. And then Luca's voice came from behind him, calm as ice. "She's not listening to you now either." Daniel spun around. Luca stepped out of the shadows, sleeves still rolled, gun in his hand, but pointed down. Two of his men appeared behind him, guns up. For a second, the room froze. Two predators, two worlds, same target. "So you're Moretti," Daniel said, eyes sweeping him. "You look shorter on paper." Luca didn't even blink. "You look more alive than you should be." Daniel chuckled. "You think you can scare me?" "No," Luca said. "I think I can end you." Daniel's two men tensed, hands going to their jackets. "Don't," Luca warned without raising his voice. "You won't reach it before I do." One of them still tried. The shot Luca fired was fast and precise. Shoulder, not head. Enough to drop him, not kill him. The other froze. Daniel's smile slipped. "So that's how it's gonna be." "That's how it was the moment you followed her to my streets," Luca said. "You could have ignored her. You could have let her go. You didn't." Daniel's eyes flicked to Olivia. "You're doing all this for her? You met her on a plane." "I read people," Luca said. "I read monsters." Daniel scoffed. "Oh, that's funny. Because she's not as innocent as she looks." Olivia flinched. "Stop." "No, tell him," Daniel said, voice turning venomous. "Tell him how you signed my papers. Tell him how you cried first and then did it anyway. Tell him how you used my money to open a second account." "I didn't," she cried. "You forced me." "She's lying," Daniel said, eyes on Luca now, trying to wedge in doubt. "She lies to survive. You think she won't lie to you too? Today you're the hero. Tomorrow you're the villain in her story." Luca stared at him for a long second. "I know what she is." "Oh yeah?" Daniel sneered. "What is she?" "A woman who was scared," Luca said. "That's all." That shut Daniel up for a beat. He tried a different angle. "You don't win here, Moretti. You kill me, and my files go to the feds. My lawyer already has them. They've got her name all over them." Luca tilted his head. "Do they?" Daniel grinned. "Yeah, and when they come, they'll see her as the one who moved the money, not me. She takes the fall." Olivia's face crumpled. "Luca." "I told you," Luca said without taking his eyes off Daniel. "I don't let that happen." Daniel chuckled. "What are you going to do? Hack the government?" "No," Luca said. "I'm going to remove the source." Before Daniel could react, two more of Luca's men stepped in from the service corridor, carrying a small drive and a laptop. Marco held it up. "We already pulled his cloud. We already erased her from it." Daniel's cocky expression cracked. "What? You thought we came into this blind?" Luca said. "I don't go to war without knowing where the bullets are." For the first time, Daniel looked rattled. Then the mask came back. "Doesn't matter. She's still mine." That was the wrong sentence. Luca's eyes went dark. "No, she's under me now." The air in the room shifted, danger turning personal. Daniel realized it too. He took one step back, closer to the glass, eyes darting between Luca and Olivia. "You really think he's saving you?" he snapped at her. "He's using you. You're a pretty excuse to start a war." "Maybe," she said, voice shaking but loud. "But at least he chose me. You never did. You just owned me." That hit him harder than any punch. His expression twisted. "You ungrateful." He lunged, not at Luca, but at her. In a blur, Luca moved. He pushed Olivia behind the desk with one hand and lifted the gun with the other. Daniel grabbed a glass paperweight from the side, ready to throw, but he never got to. The shot rang through the penthouse, loud, final, echoing off the marble. Daniel staggered, eyes wide, shock replacing the rage. He looked down at the growing red on his shirt, then up at Luca. You killed... for her. For her, Luca said. Daniel dropped. Silence rushed in. Only the rain and Olivia's breathing filled the room. Marco signaled the men. Get him out, now. They moved fast, practiced. Daniel's body was dragged toward the private elevator that didn't show on the building's main system. The wounded henchman was taken too. In less than a minute, the floor was clean, except for the shattered glass and the pounding in Olivia's chest. She was still behind the desk, knees weak, eyes wet. Luca turned to her. It's done, he said quietly. She stared at him like she didn't believe it. He's really gone. He can't hurt you again. The words hit her like a wave. All the months of running, the hiding, the waking up to check the door. Over. Because one man decided to stand in front of her and not move. Her legs gave out. Luca crossed the space in 3 strides, catching her before she hit the floor. His arms wrapped around her, strong and warm, and for the first time she cried without trying to stop it. It's okay, he murmured, one hand on the back of her head, pulling her into his chest. You're okay, it's over. She pressed her face into him, shaking. I thought he'd always find me. He won't, Luca said. Not in this life. She pulled back just enough to look at him. His face was close. So close she could see the rain still on his hair from earlier, the tension slowly leaving his jaw, the way his eyes softened only for her. You did all this. For me, she whispered. He cupped her face with one hand, thumb brushing away a tear. I told you, I don't hand women over, and I don't let cowards win. Her lips parted, breath mingling with his. Luca. He hesitated for a second. Not because he didn't want to, but because he knew once he did, there was no going back. Then he bent his head and kissed her. It wasn't a soft, uncertain kiss. It was the kind that comes after fear, after relief, after a gunshot. Full, deep, claiming, like he was telling her with his mouth what he hadn't said with words. She melted into it instantly, hands gripping his shirt, pulling him closer. All the days of silence, of glances across hallways, of almost touches, it was all there. His hand slid to her waist, fingers spreading, keeping her against him. He kissed her like he'd been waiting since the plane. She kissed him back like he was the first safe place she'd ever had. When they finally parted, both were breathing hard. He rested his forehead on hers. You're safe, he said again, quieter this time, almost like a promise to himself. As long as you stay with me. She smiled through tears. Then I'm staying. A small, rare smile curved his mouth. Good. She glanced toward where Daniel had fallen. What about everything else? The families? The feds? We handled the files, Luca said. Marco wiped your name. Anything left, I'll buy, threaten, or burn. That's my world, not yours. You'd do that. I already did. She searched his eyes. So what am I now, Luca? A problem? A woman you saved? A guest? His hand tightened on her waist. You're the woman I chose. Her breath caught. Then, tonight wasn't just about danger. No, he said, eyes on her mouth again. Tonight was about finally stopping running. Outside, the rain started to ease, the city below still alive and unaware. Inside, in a penthouse above Manhattan, a dangerous man and a woman who'd been hunted stood holding on to each other like the battle was over. But there was still tomorrow. There were still rival families who'd noticed. There were still consequences. That was fine, because now everyone would know. Luca Moretti didn't have a weakness. He had someone he'd kill for. Morning light filtered through the tall glass windows, soft and gold, touching the city like a secret. The storm had passed. Manhattan was breathing again. Inside Luca Moretti's penthouse, the quiet was different now. Not tense, not waiting, just still. Olivia woke wrapped in a blanket on the couch, the faint scent of his cologne still on her skin. For the first time in years, she hadn't dreamed of running. She'd dreamed of staying. Across the room, Luca stood near the window, suit jacket off, shirt sleeves rolled to his forearms, coffee in hand. He'd been awake for hours, watching, thinking, protecting, even in silence. She sat up slowly. "You don't sleep much, do you?" He turned, a half smile touching his mouth. "Sleep's a luxury, and I don't do luxury well." "You do it better than you think," she said, pulling the blanket tighter. "You made this place feel safe." He looked at her for a long second. "That's new for me." "What is?" "Someone feeling safe near me." There was no bravado in it, no self-pity, just truth. Olivia stood, walked closer, bare feet silent on the marble floor. "Maybe you were waiting for the right reason." He set the coffee down, eyes on her. "And you think you're that reason?" She smiled faintly. "You tell me." Luca didn't answer. Instead, he reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. His hand lingered. "You should eat something. You didn't touch dinner." She laughed softly. "You just can't help giving orders." "I can try," he said, amused. "But I'd fail." Marco arrived around noon. His usual confidence was back, but his tone was respectful, quieter than before. "It's done," he said, placing a folder on the table. "No trace left. The accounts are gone, the transfers buried. Daniel Hayes officially doesn't exist." Olivia's chest tightened. "And me?" "You're clean," Marco said. "The feds had copies of his accounts, but nothing tied to you now. Your name was wiped before they even noticed." Luca nodded once. "Good work." Marco hesitated, looking between them. "Janetti's asking questions. He says Daniel owed him money. He wants to know if you're keeping anything that was his." Luca's gaze sharpened. "Tell him I don't keep leftovers." Marco grinned faintly. "Thought you'd say that." As he left, Olivia turned to Luca. "Won't that make things worse?" "It will make things clear," he said simply. "Clarity keeps people alive." That afternoon, she stood on the balcony overlooking the skyline. The sun was setting, painting the city in orange and rose. She hadn't realized how beautiful peace could look. When Luca joined her, she didn't turn. She just said quietly, "I should go, shouldn't I?" He froze for a second. "Why?" "Because you've done enough. You risked your life, your business, everything. I can't keep hiding behind you." He leaned against the railing beside her. "You think that's what you're doing?" "I don't know what else to call it." "You call it living," he said. For the first time. She looked at him. "You'd really keep me here?" "I don't keep people," he said. "But I'd ask you to stay." Her heart skipped. "And if I said yes?" He smiled faintly. "Then I'd have to learn how to make breakfast for two." She laughed, soft, warm, the sound he hadn't realized he missed. Then she grew serious again. "Luca, I don't belong in your world." He turned fully toward her. "My world's not about marble floors and suits. It's about loyalty. And you've got more of that than half my men." She shook her head, smiling sadly. "I'm not like them." "No," he said. "You're better." Days passed. The tension that had ruled their lives began to fade. Olivia started to breathe again. Long walks on the terrace, coffee on the balcony, moments when she caught Luca watching her and didn't look away. He never said the word love, but it was in the way he stood between her and the door, the way he remembered how she liked her coffee, the way he listened when she spoke. One night she found him in the study, papers spread across the desk, contracts, numbers, security updates. "You're rebuilding," she said. "I'm cleaning up," he replied. "When something rots, you cut it out." She hesitated at the door. "And what happens when you're done?" He looked up. "Then I start something new." "With who?" she asked quietly. He studied her for a moment. "Maybe with you." Her breath caught. "You don't even know what I'd want." "I know you want peace. You want truth. You want a man who doesn't lie to you." She swallowed. And what do you want? He smiled slightly. I want to stop being a man who only destroys things. She crossed the room and placed her hand over his. Then start with me. His eyes searched hers. You sure? Yes. He turned his hand, fingers lacing with hers. Then it settled. That night they stood together by the window again. The same place where everything had almost ended. Olivia leaned her head on his shoulder. You ever think about what's next? He exhaled slowly. Sometimes. I think about leaving it all. The deals, the guns, the men. Maybe somewhere quiet. Would you really walk away? He looked down at her. If you asked me to. Her lips curved. Then considerate asked. He smiled. Small, real. You sure you could handle me outside the city? I handled you inside it, she said. I'll manage. A week later, Luca kept his word. He transferred control of his operations to Marco, quietly, efficiently. No announcements, no threats. The men who worked for him knew better than to question it. When it was done, he packed one small suitcase. Olivia waited by the elevator. You really did it. He nodded. You said quiet, so we start quiet. Where to? Somewhere with no cameras, he said. No bodyguards. No one who knows my name. She smiled. That's a lot of places. Then we'll take our time. The elevator doors opened. He gestured for her to go first. She hesitated. You're sure? About you? He asked. Completely. She stepped in, heart pounding. When the doors closed, she reached for his hand. He didn't pull away. The car that took them to the airport was unmarked, windows tinted. For once, Luca wasn't watching the mirrors. He was watching her, the way her hair caught the sunlight, the way her eyes finally looked at peace. You nervous? He asked. A little. Good. It means you still care about something. She smiled, glancing at him. You really don't miss it? The power? I have something better, he said simply. Someone who makes me forget I ever needed it. She leaned closer. That's a dangerous thing to say for a man like you. I'm not a man like me anymore, he said. When the plane took off, Olivia looked out the window, watching the city shrink into clouds. Luca rested his hand over hers. You don't have to be afraid now. She turned to him. I'm not. Good, he said. Because wherever we land, that's home. She smiled softly. Then home is wherever you are. He kissed her hand, slow and certain. Exactly. Months later, in a quiet coastal town, they walked the beach at dusk. No guards, no suits, no ghosts. Olivia collected shells. Luca carried the bag like it was gold. You know, she said, teasing, you're not very intimidating like this. He smirked. Don't tell anyone. I've got a reputation. I think it's safe with me, she said. The waves broke gently, and for a moment the whole world felt small enough to fit around them. Olivia stopped, turning toward him. You ever regret it? What? Letting it all go. He thought for a moment, then shook his head. I used to live in a world where everyone wanted something from me. You're the first person who never asked for anything. Except truth. I can live with that. She smiled, stepping closer. And what about love? He brushed her cheek, voice low. That came with the deal. Their lips met again, not out of desperation this time, but peace. When they pulled apart, she laughed softly. You still don't smile much, you know. He grinned just enough. I'm working on it. The wind lifted her hair, and he caught it gently, tucking it behind her ear. Luca Moretti, she said, her voice full of warmth. You're officially a free man. He looked at her, sunlight fading behind them. No, he said softly. I'm a man in love. And for once, there was nothing left to run from. No danger, no lies, no ghosts. Just them. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.